That's about 2x pot. It gets Jeff to fold the best hand. So nice play there. Luke back up to almost 1,000,000 chips, maybe even right around 1,000,000. Few more hands here at this level. Action here on Olsen.
State 6 folds.
Mustafa going to raise it up with that ace-jack spades. Another pretty good hand for our chip leader.
So it wasn't like halfway through the sip and just went everywhere.
Action on Nick Wright with 2 6s on the button. How is he going to play these 6s here?
State 2 calls, State 3 folds.
Not familiar with Mustafa. He is the most successful tournament player ever from Italy, folds. With over $8 million in live cashes. He got 59th in this tourney last year for 20,000 Australian dollars. And he won 2 tournaments here in Australia in 2014 for $300,000 combined.
Seat 1 bet 65,000.
Mustafa continuing his pre-flop aggression here, and Nick with an underpair. What is he going to do? Nick makes the call here correctly, as we can see. It's pretty much a flip here on the flop. Both players turn a straight draw. Mustafa now has 2 straight draws, queen or a 9. Nick's straight draw, also to the 9, would be no good. Mustafa kind of doing like a not like this sort of pose for the time being.
Seat 1 bets 155,000.
Another bullet here from Mustafa.
Seat 2 folds.
Nice play by Mustafa. He has the worst hand. He fires twice. And these hands that we've seen at this featured table,
You think I will forget?
These hands show why Mustafa is one of the best in the world. Yes, he got lucky with the A7, but he played it very well, and moves like that is what makes him so tough to play against. And with that pot, Mustafa moves up to almost 4 million chips. Remember, there's only 21 million chips in play, so Mustafa has about 20% of the chips in play. 16 players remain, playing down to the final 7 tonight. If you haven't pressed that follow button, come hang out with us tomorrow for the $100,000 buy-in final table. That's going to pay almost $1 million for first. Then the day after that, we're going to be crowning a champion in this event, awarding them $1.6 million.
State 4 folds.
Then after that, back to our usual poker goodness every single day here on RunItUp.tv. So like I said, press that follow button. Come hang out with us more often. It's getting late in Australia. Play started 8 hours ago, something like. We started today with 36 players, down to the final 16. It is 9 p.m. in Australia. Action on Nick Wright here.
Say 2 raises to 55,000. Say 3 folds. Say 4 calls.
Luke Roberts joins
Say
the party
6
with his
folds.
King 9 suited.
12.
Oh, thanks.
Good try.
Mustafa gets the mix as well.
How much? Close.
Say 1 calls. 3 players.
Pretty good flop here for Nick. Luke makes a pair as well.
Say
Mustafa
1
with
checks.
stone nothing.
Say 2 bet 75,000. Say 4 folds.
Good fold by
Say
Luke
1
there.
fold.
Didn't even think about it.
I call now.
Yeah, I'm sure you call it. 4-5. 4-5, you're probably raising me.
No.
All right, another hand here at 12 and 24,000. When we get back, it's going to be 15 and 30,000. Jeff Rossiter first
Say
act
3
with Ace
raises to
Jack. He's going to raise it up.
55,000. Say 4 folds. Say 6 folds.
What will Mustafa do here with King 9 of Hearts in the small blind? Looks like Mustafa gonna choose to re-raise here with King 9 suited. Once again, picking
one
a
re-raises to
hand out of the small blind to
195,000.
attack with.
Say 2 folds.
What will Rossiter do here with his Ace Jack? In position, but facing a pretty big re-raise. Has to call 140 to win 290, getting about 2 to 1 here.
Say 3 folds.
Wow. And that's the power of aggression, power of being a big stack. And Jeff just folds the best hand there. Doesn't want to get mixed up, even though he has position and a pretty good hand. Mustafa is tough to play against. We started this tourney with 725 contestants, each of whom paid $10,000 to enter. And we are down to the final 16, playing down to 7 tonight. Luke Roberts with a pretty good hand, 2 10s.
Say 3 raises to 66,000. Sorry, seat 4. Seat 6 folds.
Over around to the blinds.
Seat 1 folds.
Action over to Nick in the small blind with ace-10 offsuit. This may be the last hand before the break.
Cool.
Seat 2 calls. Seat 3 folds.
So Nick does call.
Thank you.
We're going to have
Heads
Nick
up.
versus Luke here. When we get back, we'll have a new featured table. We're going to rotate it as we have been doing. Or I believe we will at least.
Seat 2 checks. Seat 4 bets 150,000.
Luke continues here with his 10s for a pretty hefty bet, too. He almost bets the size of the pot. Thomas Stick wants to know, will all players be moved to one tail gets on to
Seat 2
9?
folds.
I'm not 100% sure. We'll find out when we get there, though. And that hand goes to Mr. Roberts. He takes that last pot before the break. All right, guys. So we are down to the final 16 contestants. We are playing down till 7 tonight. These players have already played for 9 hours today. So they're going to go take a 75-minute dinner break. While we're on that break, we're going to show some footage from prior years of the Aussie Millions. The Aussie Millions shows in the past have been some of my favorite poker content ever. So when we get back, we're going to keep playing down to that final 7. I will see you guys back in just a little bit, over an hour, for the conclusion of the main event day 4, live from Crown Melbourne. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the 2017 Aussie Millions main event day 4. Good to have you guys with us. We are down to the final 16 competitors, playing down to the final 7 players tonight. Here is a look at our standings, our top 8 players. Everyone chasing Mustafa Kennett here with 3 million chips. Jeff Rossiter in second place with about 2.5 million. And then Shireen Vajiram at 2.4 million. You see, we also saw some of these players earlier. We saw Nicholas Wright at our feature table before the break. We saw Ben Heath earlier today. Corey Aldemir, we saw him also earlier. He's made a nice recovery back up to 1.5 million. And then Peter Aristotedu is still in the tournament as well with about 1.5 million. The blinds are going to be 15 and 30,000. Here is a look at our new featured table. We have rotated the featured tables out as we are doing throughout the entire day today. And we are going to see for the very first time some new faces as well as 4 returning faces. So Vajiram making his featured table debut here with 2.4 million chips. Marota also making his featured table debut with 2 million chips. And then we've seen these other players before, Aldemir, MacDonald, Heath, and Aristotedu. All also will be joining us here at this featured table. Like I said, we have 16 players remaining, playing down to 7 tonight. When we get back, the blinds will be 15 and 30,000. Here's a look at the payouts these players are competing for. So every one of these players has locked up 80,000 Australian dollars. Next payout jump will be at the final 12. Every one of those players will receive at least 115,000 up to 155K at 9th. And then at the final table of 7, 210,000 minimum payout guaranteed up to 1.6 million for first place in this tournament. So these guys are playing for some high stakes action here. Let's head to the table as these players are taking their seats. And we're going to hear from Joel Williams, our tournament director, in just a moment.
You've got, because we don't use them anymore. Okay. And you know, you can pass your blues to him, so we can get rid of them.
Shuffle up. Just wait.
Shuffle up. Button on. All right, main event players, we're back from our dinner break with just 16 players remaining. We continue on to our final table of 7. Currently 16 remaining as we start level 24. Our blinds are 15,000, 30,000. Our ante is 5,000. Main event dealers, please shuffle up and deal.
You ready? Thanks.
All right, Joel Williams kicking us back off here.
Yep.
Leave those with you because we're going to come together.
You ready, beginner?
Everything.
5. Yep. And you, sir. Sorry.
Here's a look at our new table chip leader.
How much is it? 5?
5. Small blind, and we're good to go. Sorry.
And the blinds are?
15-3 with the seat 5 folds.
I've got to put them in this box,
Seat 6 raises 65,000.
We're going to get a raise here from Apostolides. Sorry,
I've got to put them in
Aristodu.
this box, I'll bring them back here.
No,
Not that
just
name.
once, just leave them like that.
I think
and
last
then
year
you
there
can
was a
put
guy
them
named
anywhere you want.
Apostolides.
Oh, okay.
As long as the scanner picks
Aristotle.
them up, so they know what they are.
Sorry. Seat 1 and 2 folds. Seat 3 folds. Seat 4 folds.
Or if it's the raise, sure. Gonna take down that pot.
Thank you. And please.
See these players selling off their 1K chips. Don't really need too many of those anymore at this stage. Pedro SSM wants to know, why does the final table only have 7 players? That's just the custom here at the Aussie Millions. We always start with 7 players at the final table. Tomorrow we have the final 7 of the 100K.
Seat 6 folds. Seat 1 folds. Seat 2 folds. Seat 3 folds.
Action here on Mark McDonald, the
Seat 4
Irishman.
moves all in.
And he's going to move all in with his last 13 or so blinds.
You want to know my name?
13 and a half blinds.
Hippie.
Seat 5 folds. Button moves, thanks. Nino. Button.
And button moves over to Mark McDonald.
I don't know if it's going to be possible, but I hope R6 make the final table. That would be so good.
I'm in.
It would be tough to have everybody else bust.
I think we're all in.
All we need to do is just keep knocking out the... Actually,
It's 7-handed.
do they do a
Pick someone
redraw
else.
12 when it's 12?
12 and 7.
They do a redraw?
I don't know, actually. No idea.
Because otherwise
I'm not sure either.
It won't happen. It has to be a redraw. Yes.
Seat 1.
Can I get
T1 raises,
a latte
65,000.
with, actually, take a white cup with 4 sugars, please. A double shot. Thank you.
2 bottles of water.
What are you having?
Train
Double shot,
Vijayaram.
latte and take a white cup.
Oh, I thought he was at a brandy.
No.
I'd like 1.
Debating the spot here.
I'll have green tea, please. And
Seat 2 re-raises. 165,000.
Vijayaram putting some pressure on here with 2 9s against the under the gun first position raise from Aldemir.
Fold. Fold.
Looks like it's on Aristides. He's going to let it go.
65? 165.
And we're going to see a flop here. There's already 400,000 chips in the pot right now. Remember, our average stack at the moment is only around 1.2 million or so. 1.3 million, maybe.
See one check.
Since I sat in the wrong chair.
Nine's flopping overpair here. But Aldemir could have a hand like tens or jacks and just raise call pre-flop.
C2 bets 125,000. Sorry, 150,000. Sorry.
Yeah, lost one. He's all in and call. We're gonna lose this one. I've got a feeling.
Aldemir thinking about it here. Betting about over 3.5 to 1. Sounds like an all in a call at one of the outer tables.
What is it? Queens and what?
4-3 of hearts. I think.
4-3 against Queens sounds like.
Yeah, 4-3, yeah.
King 3.
King 3 of hearts.
See one check.
Against Spain over Queens.
Check call at our table. Turn Queen of Diamonds.
That was a big flop.
Those two cards brighter than me.
Yeah, 9-4-3.
4 diamonds now on the board. Those black nines not looking so good anymore. And it sounds like we lost the player at one of the outer tables. And that's Fedor Holtz knocking out Horan Zhang. Queens for Fedor. King 3 for Zhang was no good.
Oh, you know
So Fedor has almost 2 million chips right now. Back at this hand here, remember this hand went raised from Aldemir, re-raised from Vijayaram. Aldemir calls. Check call flop, check check turn, and now it looks like Aldemir is measuring out a bet.
Good luck, but there's your chance. Go and smash him.
And that's a pretty hefty bet here from Aldemir. If you're not familiar with Aldemir, he's got almost $3 million in live tournament earnings.
That's the plan.
D1 bets 300,000.
Shireen Vijayaram is thinking about it here.
Make a diff. Does it? Oh, you can? Okay. Yeah, they don't fit. You can.
But what kind of hands does he really beat? I mean, he can't beat, obviously, any diamond. Somehow Ace-King beats him. If not that he'd ever bet Ace-King here, Aldemir, that is. Like, you only beat, like, what, black sixes somehow? That seems like a tough hand to put him on. Like, Vijayaram could have a flush here, right? Like he could have checked back turn with a diamond, so I don't think you have to call with a hand as bad as nines, given that you can have so many stronger hands than this, full houses and flushes. But it seems like Shireen is thinking about it here. This is a pretty hefty bet here for 300,000. Now, of course, we don't know Aldemir's hand right now. But, I mean, hard to put him on a hand here. Like, you guys tell me in chat right now, like, what do we beat with 2 nines? Like, I'm having trouble thinking of a hand we can beat. At this point, after all this tanking, you can't expect him to make a bluff raise. Like, Vajiram looks legitimately pained right now. So we are... Oh, he does call here. And does he possibly win? Ace high flush is going to take it.
Sorry? Yeah.
Ace 10 of diamonds. Flopped 2 overcards and nut flush draw. Turn the nut flush. River to diamond and still got paid off by black nines here somehow. And that's a big hero call early on at this featured table. Now, the best thing we can do if I was in Vajiram's corner, I would tell him, forget about that hand. Move on. Go back to playing tight, solid poker. Don't let that hand shake you. You still have tons of chips. You're in the main event. $1.6 million up for grabs for first. Don't let that tilt you. If you're gonna make a big call like that, you'll be one. If you're going to make a big call like that, don't let that impact you further. Like, when you make a call that's super thin, you're going to lose a lot.
Oh, is that not? I mean, sure.
Actions in seat 2. Seat 2 folds.
That's a huge pot for a very dangerous player.
Seat 5 raises 65,000.
Action over to Ben Heath, who we've seen before at this featured table a few times today. And he has run into a big hand here, button for small blind.
6 re-raises. 250.
And Aristotle says, let's raise it up.
15.
Aristotle says, okay, let's make it 215,000. And that's got to be the end of this hand. Can't see Heath really continuing here. Now remember this, guys. These players have been playing before the dinner break. So maybe there's a chance that Aldemir showed a big bluff, or there was somehow some sort of history in play that made that nines call
Thank you.
Give me a second. Alright guys,
a
we're
little more
bringing the
reasonable.
oversized aquas, which are 100k.
All right, we got some new chips in play. The oversized aquas, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I will say that if that's really what that is, no, there's no way it's 125. Those got to be 100,000. I've never in my life seen 125,000. Got to be 100.
There you go. All in already.
But yeah, so we're getting rid of the light blue chips. We're gonna come back with 100K chips now.
Actions in seat 3.
Also, I heard All in a call at one of the outer tables.
Seat 3 folds. Seat 5 folds. Seat 6 folds.
A lot of action here at Crown tonight. Don't forget, it's about 10:30 p.m. on a Friday night here in Australia.
Was that
A lot of action at the Crown Poker Room right now.
200. So what happened? Did we lose one or not? Yes, we have.
Does sound like we lost another player here.
There was 4 short stacks on that time. Did one? Sorry, 3. 400.
It looks like we lost Scott Eskenazi here. We saw him play at this featured table earlier today. He got busted out. Ace 10 against 9.
What's his name?
I'm not sure. Mark. What is it? Mark.
It's an Irish guy.
Mark.
Are you getting up there?
Mark.
It's an Irish guy. Yeah.
Actions in seat 5.
And now that we're down to the final 14 players, we move the player off our table to balance to keep the tables balanced. With 14 players remaining, there'll be 2 5-handed tables and 1 4-handed table.
Seat 6
We
raises
are at the
65,000.
5-handed table.
Seat 1 folds.
Now we're down to the final 14 contestants playing down to the final 7 tonight.
Seat 2 folds.
We're at 75, 65.
65 in total.
So the first hand we've seen here from Nino Marota, an Aussie player.
Seat 3 re-raise.
He's going to defend the big blind. Oh, he
150,000.
actually re-raises with threes here. Now these two players must know each other. Both local players.
Seat 6 calls.
And Aristidou calls.
Heads up. Actions in seat 3.
Not a great flop for 2 threes. Aristidou still about a coin flip here. Can catch a 10 to make a better 2 pair. Queen, Jack, 9 obviously would be good.
Bets.
King, not so bad.
90,000.
Marota continues his aggression here on this flop. And I can't really see Aristidou fold in this here.
Seat 6 calls.
And that's a pretty good turn card for Queen Jack. Queens and 8s now. Will Marota continue this aggression? No, he says check here. Now it looks like Aristidou is going to measure out a bet. And that's probably the end of this hand here. 3 clubs on the board. Your little 3s do not look too good.
Folds.
Face up, please, Luke.
Guys, any thousands make them visible, please?
That was my 5, was it?
Yeah, one was just thrown in. That's one of those for 5K. 6, 8, 10. Pete, you got any? Pete, up? No thousands?
No.
Top 2 win.
Straight flush, so much, hang on.
All right, next hand getting underway here.
Dear.
Thank you. Andy's please, gentlemen.
Should I take it back to that?
We started this tourney with 725 players. We are down to the final 14. And it sounds like one of the outer tables has another all-in and a call.
Actually, have you got spare waters, you know, the cold ones? No, they're not cold enough. Hang on,
All right, next hand underway.
Wasn't in the big blind just then? You were big blind last time, right? Yeah.
The button didn't move, sorry. Missed you. Okay.
Looks like the dealer didn't move the button, so we're going to take the cards back.
What the other one was?
Try that again.
Nah, but you don't want to play twice. That's mine. Thank you.
Walking stick. Walking sticks.
Have they looked at another one? Good job.
I haven't heard that before.
Must be empty.
We have to talk from your perspective, yeah?
Action is in seat 6.
All right, Aristidou will be first to act here. Blind still 15 and 30,000.
Seat 6 folds.
All these players guaranteed at least $80,000, bought in for $10,000 4 days ago. $1.6 million up for grabs for first.
Seat 2 folds and seat 3 folds.
The yellow chips are 5K. The dark blue chips, 25K, and now the new light blue and orange chips are 100,000. Starting stack in this tourney was 30,000 chips. I am not sure if there's going to be a redraw at the final two tables. I have not. Sometimes, though, up there's look at our chip values, by the way. Sometimes in tournaments, there's a complete random reseeding of the field at certain points in the tournament, like when the new day of play begins, for instance. But mid-tournament decision is up to the tournament director and the tournament venue, so I'm not sure if Crown is going to draw players at Final 12 or not.
Oh, I didn't even know what I was doing. Sorry, I thought that was... Yeah, that's cool.
Take your 10 back.
So seat 2 calls.
So Jairam calls, and Heath...
Seat 3 and 5 fold.
Heath folds, Murata folds, and now it's on Aristidu with 9-7 offsuit.
Aussie doing its main event. A field of 725. Just 14 players remain.
7:25 begin, 14 left. Both players make a pair here.
Seat 6 bets 40,000.
Aristidu just decides to bet out with his 7. We can see he does have the best of it here. And he's going to get called by Vijayaram.
Seat 6 bets 55,000. Seat 2 folds.
And 9-7 can take it down with another bet there on the turn.
Is that your ante? Yep.
Next hand underway. These players can definitely feel the pressure at this point. There is a big payout jump. If you bust out this spot or the next spot, you're only going to get 80,000, which is still a lot of money, of course. But if you can survive to the top 12, 12th place is guaranteed $115,000. So $35,000 if you can survive 2 more eliminations. Action on Marotta here. He's going to let it go.
5,000.
On to Ben Heath on the button. Very talented online player, from what I've heard. And he's going to raise it up with King-Queen offsuit.
Seat 6 folds. Seat 1 folds.
And Heath's going to pick up that pot. Average stack right now, probably right around 1.5 million chips. About 21 million in play. So 21.5 million in play or so. About 1.4 million average stack here.
Peter. Thank you.
Marotta here under the gun. He's got a very healthy stack. About 1.6 million chips right now. Definitely over average. Pocket aces are going to help him in his quest to grow that stack. And Marotta obviously going to come in for a raise. Question is how much at 30,000 big blind? Anything from 70 to 90,000 is reasonable.
60,000.
He goes for a min raise, makes it 60,000.
Seat 5 and 6 fold. Seat 1 fold.
Action over to Vajiram in the big blind.
Seat 2
Gotta
calls.
imagine he's going to defend for a min-raise here, and indeed he does. Two pretty big stacks colliding. Pretty good flop here from Marota's aces. Vajiram with
Seat 2
a
checks.
gut shot, backdoor flush draw.
Seat 3 bets 65,000.
So a pretty small bet here from Vajiram. Oh, sorry, from Marota.
Seat 2 calls.
And Vajiram is going to defend here. Oh, and that's the 7 on the turn. Marota went from being in a dominant position to being the huge underdog in this spot. Only 11% to win. Has to find an ace or a 4 now to make the best hand.
25,000.
Vajiram is... Look at this acting. How much? Like he doesn't like it. But he has turned gin here. And Marota is in some amount of trouble. Will he be able to at least minimize the losses here? Vajiram looks like he's cutting out a raise. Each one of those dark blue chips is 25,000. Vajiram stacking up a nice healthy raise here. Now let's just hope Marota just calls.
230,000 more.
If Marota shoves here, he is
230,000 more.
He's going to be in bad shape if he shoves. Let's hope he just calls. And then maybe there's some cards like a 6 or a 3 or an 8 on the river that would at least perhaps save him. But looks like he's thinking about it here, but that might be a raise, not a call. Oh no, he re-raises. Oh no, not like this. Marota is overplaying his aces here, in my opinion. I think he should have just called on the turn.
Re-raises 300,000 more.
Vajiram has got to be like a little worried about a full house here, but I think Marota should have just called. Tough spot for him with aces and 4s here, of course, but now what is he going to do if Vajiram shoves? Like, what hands do you beat? Does Vajiram have kings?
300,000 more.
300,000 more.
All right, players, the settle in. This is your 2-minute call. Start taking your seats. We'll be back underway in 2 minutes.
I mean, Vajiram. Let's look at this from Vajiram's shoes. Is he going to just flat call here or just jam? There's already a million chips in the pot. His facial expressions do seem a little like confused and worried, but like he's probably confused. I understand. Worried. He moves all in here, and Marota does not look happy, of course. But this is why we should have just called. Like, are we gonna fold now?
Promise you.
He says, "I promise I don't have a 4."
Maybe.
But I mean, 5, 5, 7, 7, 6, 8, 6, 3 all still beat aces. And the thing is, like, what hand does aces really beat here? Does Vajiram really have like 5, 6 of diamonds? Right? He can't have ace 5 of diamonds because we have the ace of diamonds.
Player review, we will be hand to hand.
Can Marota somehow find a fold in this spot? At this point, he's put in so many of his chips, he might feel committed here, but like he still has a million chips left. Like he could still find a fold despite putting in 500,000 on the turn. I mean, this is why there's that.
Seat 3 calls.
Oh, he calls it off, and Murata's going to have to find an ace or a 4, or he's going to be eliminated here in 15th place. And Vajiram's in massively good shape here.
You can hit an ace or a 4 still.
Does still have 4 outs. Any ace, any 4. 11% for Murata.
Good luck. Seriously.
Deuce on the river. And we're going to lose Murata here. Aces. Definitely got unlucky to get outdrawn by 8-6 there, but I don't think he had to necessarily go broke. I think he could have just called the turn check raise and then call again on the river, and instead of being out, at least maybe you have a 500,000 chips or something like that. A nice hand by Vajiram in any case. And we are down to our final 14 contestants, or actually, sorry, 13 contestants. Murata out in 14th place here.
We're going? Alright. Andy's, thank you.
Huge pot there for Vajiram.
So we're going to be hand for hand now.
Oh, yeah, Ben?
For hand.
That's nice.
Oh, really?
There's 13 left.
Yeah.
It's not going to go hand to hand
Oh,
now.
for the 2 to... Oh, okay. No, I thought that's what they said. Okay.
The small blind, big one.
And that is an enormous pot. Wow. 13 players remaining. Next player eliminated only, quote unquote, only receives 80,000.
65,000.
$35,000 payout jump if you can make it to the final 12.
I'm suited.
No, I said, how does it feel?
Oh, how does it feel?
Just so you know, you're 5,000 short, and action's on you.
Oh, sorry.
65,000.
Pretty great spot for Vajiram.
Seat 1 and 2 fold. Seat 5 folds. Andy's, please, gentlemen.
What if I move here? Does that make a difference? Can I move here?
You have to still use the box.
I said the box.
Yeah. And we might get another player soon, so...
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure right now we're hand, which means there are tables right now. 2 handed tables. 5.
Action is in seat 1. Seat 1 folds. Seat 2 folds. Seat 5 raises, 95,000.
Supposed to fall, not rise.
Yeah, sure, mate. You're gonna go nuts. 20
No,
stack.
well, I took your big blind before you came.
Sweet.
Happy with that?
Cheers, mate.
Seems like the fairest way.
Gonna win that pot.
I'm telling you, we're both going to be on the final table.
Andy's, please, gentlemen.
Oh, hopefully.
I'm not as sure as you.
Aristotle.
I'm going for 9th.
Aristotle promising to make the final
Is
take.
that what you want? What's 9 worth?
I don't know.
Why 9?
Not greedy.
Hey?
Keith's going to be on the button
I'll be
here.
happy with 9th.
I'm greedy. I want to
fair.
win. Nah, it's not about the greed, it's about the win.
I know.
Action's in seat 2.
the gyro first to act here under the gun.
C6 calls. D1 checks. Heads up.
So I think Heath folded. Blind versus blind. Aristidou limped, and Aldemir checked big blind. Aristidou made a pair of deuces, backdoor flush draw. Aldemir, no pair for him.
D1 checks. C6 bets 40,000. D1 folds.
And Aristidou's going to win that pot.
Ladies, please, gentlemen.
"13 contestants remain.
Actions in seat 5.
Starts out here with Ben Heath.
Seat 5 folds. Seat 6 folds. Seat 1 calls.
Mustafa Knit is still in this tournament. Last I heard, he had over 3 million chips.
Cool.
Fedor has 2 million, only 20 million in play, so the two scariest players both have piles. Jeff Rossiter, another very talented player, he still has piles as well.
Actions in seat 1.
Hey? No, I'm good.
Check.
Pairs for both players, but Bajayaron's pair leads.
You bets 35,000.
Okay.
Sounds like all in a call at one of the outer tables.
Trying to hear the names.
Oh, Marcus Hoyland with Queen 7.
Mark McDonald with Queen 7 against Tobias Houston's Pocket 8.
2 checks.
You sweating it?
Sounds like Mark McDonald is out. And we are down to our final
We're
12.
going to bring some players now. 2 tables of 6. All right.
So we're going to break one of the other outer tables. And we are down to the last 2 tables in this Aussie Millions main event. 725 entrants started. $10,000 buy-in. We are down to the final 12 players.
London.
London, you're English.
Yeah. You?
Actually, I live here.
Did you go?
I'm from Cyprus.
1 pair. Queen.
Have you ever been there?
Not yet.
They have a very good tournament there in the northern part. All the top pros, they reckon, they have the best parties. Yeah.
I'll go sometime.
Everyone keeps telling me to go there. I said, one day.
So we're going to hold up for a second as we bring in one of the outer tables. They're going to be at 6-handed play here. Mark McDonald just put out a tweet. Dream over. Maybe one day they'll invent a tourney where 10th to 13th gets the $1 million instead. Good luck to anyone left still in makeup. Nice tweet there from Mark McDonald. Was enjoying watching him play earlier at our featured table. And we are down to the final 12. If you missed any of today's broadcast, you can always go back and rewatch the full stream here on Twitch. All the archives are open to the public and free. You can find a full catalog of our past broadcasts on riustats.com. You can get in touch with me on Twitter at Jason Somerville. Go ahead and use that hashtag, Aussie Millions.
I'm going to have a party.
If you're enjoying the show today. We have Crown Poker to thank for that. Second year in a row, they've been a fantastic partner of mine.
I didn't know. You know what?
And you are watching RunItUp.tv. Tell your friends, come hang out. Final 12 players.
Well, engagement, whatever it was.
Some beautiful piece of Anton jewelry in there. Apparently cost $500. Pricey. Hey, you pay for quality. That's how life works.
I didn't tell her.
I believe that's a shot of the bracelet that will go to the winner of this tournament, along with $1.6 million. You can buy whatever kind of bracelet you want. 12 players remaining. We're waiting.
Players, just 12 remain. 2 tables of 6.
2 tables of 6.
Final table of 7 is reached. Just 12 players remain.
All right, we're getting ready to go. Moving 2 players to our featured table. Here's a look at our upcoming schedule of the Aussie Millions events. Today is the main event, day 4. Tomorrow, the $100,000 challenge final table. That will be airing a little later in the day. We start tomorrow at 10 p.m. my time here in North America, 2:10 local time. Very early in the morning here in Europe, 3:10 in the UK, 4:10 in the rest of Europe. And then we come back for the main event final table. Our last day of shows here from Australia. Starts at 12:30 local time, 1:30 GMT, Saturday evening in America, 5:30 Pacific time through 8:30 Eastern time. Tomorrow, don't forget, Fedor Holtz making that final table, David Peters, Mike Watson, Sam Trickett, Nick Petrangelo, plenty of great players at that final table tomorrow for that $100,000 buy-in event out there.
Am I waiting for the clock?
That is the Anton Jewelry 100K Challenge, by the way. Thanks to them for sponsoring our event. Here's a look at our featured table chip counts. Now we've moved Mustafa Kanit back to our table. So he's got 4 million chips. The short stack now, David Olson. He's been short stacked for a while. He's got about 20 big blinds. And we know the other 4, of course, have just got 2 new players. Our chip leader. By the way, there's 21 million chips in play. So at our featured table here, we have 7, 7.5, 8.5, 9, 10. I guess about half the chips in play. I guess that's actually about right. Thought we had a little more than that, but nope. About fair distribution of chips. So Fedor Holtz at the outer table. We'll see him play tomorrow. I think the plan is to still rotate the featured tables. So if we make it to the next break without hitting the final 7, we'll move the other table to this featured table.